general, what is the good research? Or let's say as an experienced researcher, what do you expect from me as a young faculty who wants to do valuable research? Do you have any advice, any framework that you tell me, hey, if you want to do the good research, just consider these points?
Okay, so I would say that one of the best things to self-edit for you as a researcher is to say, when I get this result, well, do I think this result will have a half-life greater than 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
Will this result actually be useful enough that it can reside in a textbook that someone would think is worthy of printing and having on a bookshelf?
Mm-hmm.
Today, I still go over 50% of the time to textbooks that I have on my bookshelf in the membrane area that are papers that were given as well as chapters that were written in the 1980s, 1990s, because the information in those things, those books, was put together in such a way that it actually taught a foundational principle and really sort of set the stage. If you're just adding a nut, like, you know, my favorite thing to beat on people, I'll beat on myself too, is that in the membrane area, was for a long time and still is a cottage industry to talk about fouling minimization, right?
Yeah.
We don't need any more fundamental studies on fouling.
Mm-hmm.
We generally know why it occurs, we know it's complex, and that almost every scenario is going to have these little nuances that are going to make it different.
Exactly.
So we don't need to study fouling for that. If you have a really new idea of what will affect a specific type of interaction or degradation that could occur because of what is classified as fouling in a membrane process, then that's different, right? And then what about it is different, right? So identify something that is not just a evolutionary increment, not just some specific thing that hasn't been specifically looked at before. You know, oh, this person made or this group has always been studying the separating layer as being, 1 micron thick,
Yeah.
500 nanometers thick. So now we're going to try to make it 100 nanometers thick, or we're going to try to make it 25 nanometers thick. Okay, why?
Why?
What do you expect is going to happen? You know, people work a lot to improve the flux of a membrane, but you have to make sure that in the actual applications that it would go, is the process flux limited, or is it fluid mechanics limited, or something else, right? So that's what I mean. Is there are a lot of fundamental problems or fundamental questions that are worthwhile to address. And if you address them with the mindset of learning something more in depth about how it occurs, but don't frame it in that you're making the next biggest contribution to a practical idea.
Perfect.